cut his head off.
Dude.
Holy dude, that's crazy. Holy he cut somebody's head. Dude, you see how small that knife was? It's literally this big. Dude, he had to be gnawing at that thing for a while, though. Spines, dude, are fucking tough.
Now, according to court documents, the victim was found decapitated with several stab wounds. The paperwork states the suspect told investigators he is homeless and believed the victim had stolen his belongings.
There's never going to be any justice for what he's done to my family and the family of the person that he killed on Monday.
He then reportedly told officers he dragged the body in the street, played soccer with his head, and kicked it at 14 cars. Court documents show Arciniega-Saenz was charged with another murder in 2017, but that case was dismissed.
This is the face of Joel Arciniega-Saenz, and one fatal night, he murdered James Garica in one of the most sickening acts of mutilation ever seen by police. But according to the suspect, this was no random attack. The two already had history, and you won't believe what Arciniega-Saenz claimed Garcia did to his wife that made him want revenge so badly that he would give up his own freedom. But was this revenge or just cold-blooded murder?
Is there anything that you can remember from last night?
No, sir.
Can you tell us what happened last night?
No, sir.
What you're about to witness is amongst the worst of all crimes. It's not just the details of the attack, but the behavior of the perpetrator themselves that will leave you questioning everything you think you know about outbursts of anger. During the shocking interrogation, we will see what it's like inside the mind of a freak who beheaded a man to play soccer with his head. This case is not for the squeamish and contains some disturbing details, so if this isn't for you, then maybe go check out one of the latest videos. As Las Cruces police arrived on the scene at Apodaca Park in 2021, they would have no idea what kind of horrifying sights they were about to witness. They had been called by several witnesses who had seen suspicious activity in the park in the early hours. Around 5 a.m., the morning commute is preparing for the day, a day many of the officers on the scene will never forget.
A beheading. Dude, because it was a car accident, for sure. Nah, dog, he got his head cut off. Holy shit.
It's bad, bro.
Yeah? Oh, yeah. And he dragged the body and probably threw the head because where they cut the head off is like here, and then the body's over there and the head's even a little farther. The body is like in the middle of the road with the head part wherever, like a neck, and then the head's over here somewhere. I don't know if he was like cut him off, tossed the head, and then dragged the body.
We have a decapitated person at Apodaca Park. Affirmative.
The body of this man, James Garica, 51 years old, had been discovered not only lifeless, but headless. It's clear by the tone of the officers that it is very serious and a very sickening crime. As police inspected further, they stumbled across a possible murder weapon.
And there's a knife sticking in the ground, covered in blood. Like a steak knife, fillet knife.
What? A steak knife?
Like a thin fish fillet knife.
It could be all kinds of.
The officers soon realized the true gruesome nature of what had happened at the scene, and it sounded like something only a psychopath would do.
Just a guy getting his head chopped off with a 2-inch knife and you can't even what though?
As the hardened officers come to terms with the severity of the situation, their next move is to try to find those responsible, and their suspect was still on the scene, covered in blood. He was quickly apprehended.
Sir, put your hands up. Get on your knees. Put your hands where I can see them. Stay where you are. Keep your hands up.
I got covered. You got contact.
He was taken to the station for interrogation, where he would reveal the most shocking details about the crime, and what Arciniega-Saenz did with the decapitated head of James Garica will chill you to your very core.
We're getting our first look now at the man who has been arrested in connection to a death of another man who was found overnight in Las Cruces. Here's his picture. Las Cruces police say 25-year-old Joel Arciniega-Saenz was arrested near Apodaca Park. That was after 11 o'clock last night. He's now facing first-degree murder charges.
But this was not the suspect's first brush with the law. Worse than that, he had been charged with murder before, but the case fell apart over a technicality. April 22nd, 2017, police responded to a 911 call at the Townhouse Motel. When they arrived at the scene, they found Benjamin Montoya lying in a pool of his own blood with a gunshot wound to the chest. Doctors and nurses frantically tried to save Montoya, but sadly, he succumbed to his injuries and was pronounced dead a short time after. Who else was at the hotel at the time of the murder? Joel Arciniega-Saenz. Not only that, He was in the same room as the victim, and according to a witness, it was Arciniega-Saenz who pulled the trigger. The two men had allegedly gotten into an argument that spilled into the hallway of the hotel and ended with Arciniega-Saenz standing over Montoya's body after shooting him square in the chest. Both Arciniega-Saenz and Montoya's girlfriend gave conflicting accounts of what happened that day, but nonetheless, he was charged with first-degree murder and was looking at a lengthy spell in prison if found guilty. But a technicality would arise. Without the murder weapon, his lawyers were able to have the murder charge dropped in 2018, with further investigation needed before the case could continue. It seems he would escape jail time, and Montoya's family hoped that no one else would have to suffer as they did at the hands of Arciniega-Saenz. But just 4 years after the murder of one of their own, their worst fears would come true.
Some people say, oh, justice is served for your brother, he's behind bars. But, I mean, there's never going to be any justice for what he's done to my family and the family of the person that he's, he killed on Monday.
You can see here how he appears to be smiling as the handcuffs are placed on him. Then he's led to the station where the interrogation will begin, and the sinister killer will reveal why he killed James Garica.
Is there anything that you can remember from last night?
No, sir.
Can you tell us what happened last night?
No, sir.
You remember where you were at last night?
No, sir.
Do you remember why you're here? Do you have any questions about what happened or how you got here?
No, sir.
By shaking his head and closing his eyes, he's attempting to avoid eye contact with the cop and evade the question. His fading voice could also be a sign of guilt and fear, as he's trying to avoid providing any further information. This could also be due to exhaustion, and he may be overwhelmed by the situation and trying to avoid any interactions. Additionally, it could be that he has taken drugs and is unable to coherently answer the question. Notice the detectives aren't using any techniques that appear friendly or understanding, as these officers are almost certain they have their man. They just need a confession. They simply push the right buttons to start until the suspect plays along.
So, well, here's the thing, man, is we picked you up at Apodaca Park, okay? You remember that? Alright. Remember you had blood on you. So now, you have blood on your hands and your clothes. You can tell me about that? You know how the blood got there?
By nodding his head in affirmation, the killer is indicating that he acknowledges the truth of the statement made by the cop. This nonverbal assessment could be a sign of the killer's guilt, as it shows he's not denying the statement and is instead confirming it. But when asked about the blood on his hands, we see a change in his behavior. His lack of response could be a sign of guilt or shame, or could simply be an indication that he does not want to talk about the blood on his hands and clothes. He may also be trying to avoid incriminating himself.
Can you tell me anything that you do remember from last night? You say no, you don't remember, or you just don't want to tell me? Yeah. Who's James? Have you ever met James before? Do you hang out down at the Community of Hope at all?
The suspect's body language here tells us he is trying to withhold information, and doing it physically by pressing his lips together tightly, presumably to control his emotions and withhold any information. Additionally, his situation assessment suggests that he is trying to figure out how to answer the questions without incriminating himself.
Do you have any idea why you're here? No?
The detective points out the obvious.
Well, I think having the blood on your hands is kind of a good indication of why you're here.
The suspect reacted by shaking his head in negation, pressed his lips to control his anger, shrugged his shoulders in disagreement, and then a contemptuous smirk appeared on his face on his left lip corner's side.
If you don't know anything about that, you don't know why your hands were covered in blood, why there's blood on your clothing. You know anything about the person that was out there at Apodaca Park?
The killer's body language here indicates that he's in a state of denial and disbelief. He's shaking his head in negation, indicating that he does not believe the accusation being made against him. His pressed lips suggest that he's controlling his anger, likely due to the gravity of the situation. His shrugged shoulders indicate disagreement with the accusation, likely coupled with disbelief. Lastly, the contemptuous smirk on his face suggests that he's not taking the accusation seriously and is trying to maintain a sense of superiority over the situation.
Do you understand how serious this is? Do you understand what's going down right now? No. We're investigating the death of that gentleman that's out there. That's what's going down right now. Okay? Obviously you know that when we show up and we find somebody that's dead, and then we have somebody that has blood on their hands, you can see what we're coming at, right? This is your time to explain. Blood on your hands. Because if we've got it wrong, this is the time to tell us. You're shaking your head no. What does that mean? You don't know?
According to a study conducted by the University of California, Berkeley, lip licking is one of the most common indicators of stress in humans. The study found that when people are under stress, they often unconsciously lick their lips in a reflexive attempt to moisten them. This behavior is seen as a symptom to flight or freeze responses and is a sign that the person is feeling overwhelmed and uncertain about their situation.
And I know you probably don't want to talk about it, but this is the time. Because while you've been sitting in here, we've been working out there. You understand that?
Even though Joel Arciniega-Saenz is giving away little by way of movement, his small reactions are still enough to decipher what is going on in the suspect's head. His pressed lips tell us this man is hiding his sadness, something the detectives play on in their favor.
So I think you can kind of put two and two together too, right? Just like we're doing it out there, you can probably put it together out here, in here too. You can kind of see where we're going with this, right? So if we're getting something wrong or we don't understand something, this is the time for you to explain it to us. So give us a chance to understand.
The suspect continues to show defiance by simply nodding his head slowly and blinking rapidly. Rapid blinking is one of the most common signs of nervousness and anxiety and is often indicative of discomfort or dishonesty. There's no doubt that the suspect is hiding something from the detectives. The killer's heavier breathing rate is a reliable indicator of stress and anxiety. It appears Arciniega-Saenz is experiencing a significant amount of psychological stress in response to the interrogation, which could be due to a variety of factors, including fear, guilt, or psychological trauma. They push further and try to play to the suspect's guilty conscience, which so far seems redundant.
It's going to be a whole lot of weight off your shoulders if you can just talk to us about it.
But what the detective says next causes the suspect to breathe heavily.
So there's only one person that's able to talk right now that can tell us what happened out there. That one person is you. You understand that?
See the suspect glance down to his left, indicating self-dialogue, perhaps trying to come up with his version of events in his head. In the end, all it took to get Arciniega-Saenz to talk was call into question his sexuality, and he fell directly into a trap.
So, I'm just trying to find out more information about James. So, was he your boyfriend? Were you guys dating each other? Okay, were you guys in some kind of lover's quarrel? No? because he's your boyfriend? You guys got in an argument?
Told me that.
It's just what I'm getting. You tell me, man. I'm not calling you gay. Yeah, I'm not judging you. You're married?
Yeah.
Who are you married to? You married to James? Are you married to James?
Are you trying to insult me?
Huh?
Are you insulting me?
No, I'm not insulting you. I'm not calling you gay.
Well, why are you calling me gay?
We're not calling you gay. We're just asking you guys what it is.
I didn't call you
Literally
gay.
just called me gay.
I said, are you married to James?
No, who told you I'm married to James? I don't know who he is.
Okay. Well, I'm trying to find out why James is dead in a park and you have his blood all over your hands.
I'm not gay, I bet you are.
Okay.
Be quiet, ain't you?
So you didn't have any kind of lover's quarrel with James?
No, you don't know what's cracker.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do. It seems like you would.
Okay.
I'll make sure none of you have.
So is that why you attacked James tonight? Because he called you gay?
That's not professional.
Is it because James is gay?
We can see how defensive he becomes as the suggestion he was in a relationship with the victim. His breathing becomes heavier. He wrinkles his nose as they talk about him being lovers with the victim. The frown that follows the head shake is a clear indication of anger and frustration. This shows that the question has hit a nerve and the killer is feeling defensive. The fact that he reacts with disgust rather than anger or surprise also suggests that he's not emotionally attached to the situation and is trying to distance himself from it.
I'm trying to find out why your blood, or why James's blood is all over you. So if it's because you guys had a lover's quarrel, or he made some kind of unwanted advance. You guess?
Again, the suspect wrinkles his nose in disgust and then smiles. The killer's smile can be interpreted as a defense mechanism, and he's trying to diffuse the tension and make light of the situation. However, turning his head to the right side and avoidance of eye contact is a clear indication of guilt and shame.
Here at the Apodaca Park, I mean, family, friends, kids, they all come here to have fun and everything, and something like that to happen here at the park, it's a tragic story.
Did you kill James because he was gay and you didn't like that?
No, I don't know.
You don't know why you killed him?
No, I don't know. That's why.
Okay, so tell us what happened. Well, you stabbed James because something he did to you.
Throughout the interrogation, Arciniega-Saenz had maintained he could not remember why he had blood on his hands or what happened the night of the murder. The extremely patient and professional officers have slowly worked their suspect down. They have questioned his previous convictions, the use of narcotics, and his marriage. The suspect says he was sleeping in the park with his wife when they woke to find Garcia had stolen from their belongings. That's when the confrontation started. They had progressed to a point where he doesn't deny killing Garcia after repeated accusations from the detectives. He simply answers each question. And then, the interrogation takes a very dark turn as Arciniega-Saenz makes a chilling claim about the victim, one that could change the nature of the case completely.
Look, Joel, we know what you did. We just want to know why you did it.
It's not Joel.
It is Joel. What do you want to be called then?
Altair.
I'm sorry?
I gave it to the cop to arrest him.
Altair?
Altair.
Altair.
That's her.
Okay, Altair.
Okay.
So then why did you kill that guy?
It's because he raped my wife.
You raped your wife.
This shocking revelation could explain why one man would become so angry that they could kill, but it would not explain the sheer ferocity of the crime and why the suspect would treat the head in such a playful way. Further analysis of the killer's body language suggests that he may be trying to downplay the situation and appear less threatening. However, the nervous body language is a clear indication that he's hiding something and trying to conceal his guilt. This type of behavior is common in individuals who have committed a crime, as he's aware that his actions are wrong and trying to avoid the consequences.
Oh my God.
Regardless of what the man before them has done, the detectives must take his claim seriously. Plus, this will give them an opportunity to manipulate the interrogation in their favor even more. They turn their attention to the alleged attack on his wife.
So why did you kill that guy?
It's with your wife.
You raped your wife. When did this happen?
4 years ago.
4 years ago?
Yeah.
Okay. Was that reported?
No, we were all homeless.
What's that?
We were all homeless.
You guys are all homies.
Homeless.
Homeless, I'm sorry. Where did that happen at?
The same spot he was at.
The same spot he was at?
Yes.
Okay.
If Arciniega-Saenz claims are true, then his clear motive was revenge, choosing exactly the same spot the victim had attacked his wife. With nowhere else to hide, the suspect finally gives detectives what they needed.
So you killed this guy because you raped your wife 4 years ago?
Yes.
As shocking as the murder itself may have been, the most sickening details of that fatal night had not even begun to emerge.
Police also say the suspect has confessed. We have a warning for viewers. The details are disturbing. As we reported, Joel Arciniega-Saenz is charged with first-degree murder for the death of 51-year-old James Garica. Las Cruces police found Garcia's body north of the park on Sunday.
With the suspect now in full confession, the gruesome story of what happened in that park emerges, and the details describe a night of bloodlust like nothing seen before.
I wanted to get him back. I just tried to take him. He pulled the gun on me, so yeah, I had a knife myself.
And what else did you do? Okay. Because you had your bags. What knife did you use?
Some kind of knife in his pocket.
He had it?
Yeah, I pulled it out.
You pulled off of him?
Yeah, because he tried to attack me. I just wanted my bags back.
Okay.
He had a gun, he had a knife, and he tried to pull
What kind of gun was it?
I got a little 22. So,
Did you see what color it was?
it's like black before brown. He tried to take that from me. And he tried to pull it on me, and I took it away, and then he pulled out a knife, and that's what happened. I don't like guns, like I don't carry guns. I can fight. I just wanted my advice.
Okay.
The suspect here appears to be trying to justify his actions, and as we've seen many times before, it's not always clear whether they do this for the benefit of the detectives or for themselves. But as we're about to find out, there is no justification for what Arciniega-Saenz did after he severed Garcia's head.
I stabbed him to death. I stabbed him in the cross. I dragged his body down the street and kicked a pencil from his head.
Note how the detectives in the room keep their composure and professionalism throughout every gory detail, despite the fact that this must have been tough to hear, even for seasoned officers.
I dragged his body down the street and kicked a pencil from his head.
He played soccer with his head?
Yeah, I keep passing cars.
How many cars passed by you?
About 14 different cars passed by. They were all looking at me.
Really?
14 cars is a lot, so imagine how terrifying these crimes must have been to drivers and passengers by this psychopathic and remorseless killer casually played with a man's head like a child's toy. It also revealed that Garcia was also missing a finger, meaning the same small knife was used in what would have been excruciating for anyone who was subjected to it.
This is video from that scene. It's where police found the unidentified man. Saenz was arrested shortly after. Police closed Solano Drive between Main Street to Madrid Avenue for several hours as well. Saenz is being held right now at the Doña Ana County Jail without bond.
By this point in the interrogation, the suspect is now openly giving details with almost no persuasion. He still shows no remorse for what he's done and seems oddly lethargic for a man about to face a lengthy stretch inside.
The knife that you stabbed him with, is that the same knife you used to cut his head off?
Yeah. He had like a switchblade or something.
And that's what you used?
Yeah.
As Arciniega-Saenz is led from the interrogation room, he shows the same nonchalant attitude to the situation that he displayed throughout. He seems to have no emotion either way about his victim. Although he said he killed the victim because he attacked his wife, and in the very same park, he also says that he attacked Garcia because he thought he had stolen his bags. He gave minor details about his wife, and naturally, the police had questions and would need to speak to her about the allegations made of Garcia.
According to court documents, Arciniega-Saenz told police he killed Garcia because Garcia had raped his wife 4 years ago.
However, there was a problem that the police encountered during their investigation. Other than saying his wife was also homeless, Arciniega-Saenz had given no major details on her whereabouts or her identity, something police would need in order to prove whether the incident happened at all. And would she even talk to the police when or if they caught up with her? The next stage of this investigation began. The hunt was on for his mysterious wife, who may hold crucial information in this case. The police knew she was homeless, and Arciniega-Saenz told him a location they were allegedly at last. Police investigated with as much information as they could, but eventually they could only admit defeat. Having no evidence of his wife and subsequently the alleged attack on his wife, police could only put these sick and twisted actions to a moment of anger that raged out of control. Either way, their man would face his day in court, and the possible punishment was severe.
A Las Cruces man accused of a gruesome murder learned whether he would remain in jail until the trial. The details coming up in this story are disturbing. In a pre-trial detention hearing, Joel Arciniega-Saenz addressed the court for the first time since being arrested in connection to the murder. ABC 7's Will Heron has details and reaction from our New Mexico mobile newsroom.
Business employees and park goers were shocked when they found out the gruesome details of the murder that took place at Apodaca Park.
The defendant's attorney tried to get their client released until the trial. They had what they thought was a solid argument, with several tricks up their sleeves. Although Arciniega-Saenz was out on bond at the time of the murder, and even with his shady criminal past, he had actually never been found guilty of any crimes at all. Defense attorney Stephen Lane would argue that there wasn't any actual evidence of several parts of the defendant's story, and statements by the police differ from what Arciniega-Saenz claimed actually happened. This shaky, if not very legal and clever way of getting their client free until trial would question these discrepancies. The defense pointed out that if the defendant had kicked the victim's head into the side of over a dozen cars, then where were the cars? Surely anyone who discovered such a sinister sight on the side of their car would surely have contacted the police after seeing the media frenzy that followed. And why didn't Arciniega-Saenz have any blood on his shoes? Again, with so many kicks, he should surely have stained his footwear heavily. Lane claimed, the reason I raised this with the court is that Mr. Arciniega-Saenz reporting to the officer does not line up with the objective evidence, and that the PSA not only recommends release, but it recommends release at the lowest level of pretrial supervision. The PSA had made their recommendations on how dangerous the defendant might be based on previous convictions. The judge also remarked on the viciousness of the attack, the manner in which an individual would have to undertake to not only remove a finger, but a head of a human being with a blade of 6 inches or smaller, as described by police, and that in and of itself is sufficient. The judge halted any attempts to let this deadly, sick psychopath anywhere near the general public by denying release before the trial.
The man accused of the murder made his first appearance today in court, not in person, but over the phone while still in jail.
Even facing a judge and extremely serious charges, the defendant is still as casual as ever, mumbling his way through the short exchange.
Mr. Arciniega-Saenz?
What?
Will you state your full name for the record?
Joel Arciniega-Saenz.
It's insane, if I'm being completely honest, because stuff like that never really happens here. And for it to happen over here at the park of all things, and plus all the other things they were saying about, like, what the guy was doing with the head and all that stuff after, it was just completely insane, very out of character for here.
At the time this video was made, Joel Arciniega-Saenz had still not been to trial. He will no doubt have to stand in front of a jury and have to face the judge as every graphic detail is read out. Until then, we can at least sleep better at night knowing the savage killer is safely locked up behind bars and doesn't look like he's going anywhere soon. This crime shocked not only the local community, but the entire nation. What started out as a case of something suspicious seen by witnesses quickly turned into one of the most graphic crimes ever. It's not just the beheading, but it's the way he treated the head afterwards, with total disregard and no remorse. During the interrogation, what starts as mere mumbling soon turns into confession and finishes off revealing what goes on in the mind of the person who is capable of such creative cruelty. It is difficult to understand and may never be clear why Arciniega-Saenz made such a sustained attack on the victim, cutting off his finger, playing with his head. There are more than moments of anger. They're calculated, humiliating attacks with total disregard for the person whose life they have ended. We can only hope that more killers like Arciniega-Saenz will confess to their crimes and save the police a lot of time and the victims' families a lot of pain. Let me know what you think of today's case in the comments, and before you go, make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons. On to next time.